Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Greels Reels. I'm your host, Robert Greeley. Guess what? We're actually coming up on 1 year. February 23rd, the first episode of Greels Reels was launched. So this is episode 52, which means it's been a year of episodes, I guess, a year worth of episodes. I don't really know how it works because I guess there's still one more that's going to come out before 53, 52, yeah, there's 52 weeks in a year. But anyways, yeah, so this is like the 52, the year episode, I guess, the year of episodes, and it's a great one. We got Nick Mattinen, former London Knight, Flint Firebird, Hamilton Bulldog, and current uOttawa GG's defenseman. He was drafted by the Toronto Maple Leafs, won a Memorial Cup, has been surrounded by incredible players like Mitch Marner, Robert Thomas, and we get into all of it. And yeah, I mean, we're just going to dive right into it. This is Greels Reels, and I'm your host, Robert Greeley. Enjoy. Matt's, buddy, it's good to see you again.
Good to see you too, Greels.
Welcome to Greels Reels. Welcome to the show, man. I'm excited to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I mean, I've been seeing a lot of other guys go on. I'm excited it's my turn.
Now, listen, I got to apologize because, what was your first thoughts in your head when we're hopping on the plane going to Ottawa, Halifax in a 2-seater side by side? And like, you're a big dude, you're 6'6", and I'm a big dude too. And then you find out you're paired with me for the whole flight.
Yeah, I think we could have planned that out a little bit better. I think I had the window seat and my head couldn't even stand up straight. So I mean, I was just so excited to get there. So the flight went by pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, we had a nice chat too. We were talking hockey a little ways, so maybe we'll bring that conversation to life throughout this evening here now. All right, man, let's go right into your childhood. Tell me a little bit about growing up and when you first kind of started picking up a hockey stick.
Yeah, I mean, I've always kind of wanted to go skate on the outdoor rink. I mean, thinking back now of how much time I spent on the outdoor rink, it's pretty crazy to think because my endurance on the outdoor rink right now is about half an hour. So back in the day, spending all day on the outdoor rink, always wanting to skate as much as I could, and then getting into organized hockey and like just starting to get bonds with the different teams I was on, and kind of growing up, just really like building a love for the game.
Was your the house with the backyard with the nice ODR? Or did you have a good buddy that had one?
I actually have a nice one, like in my like kind of community. We have like a little community rink that barely gets used by anybody else. So after school, I just zip on over there, and it'd just be 2 or 3 of my buddies that would have the ice to ourselves. So that was kind of really nice.
What's the strategy to a good ODR game? What are you how are you game planning for that one?
I just chipping pucks off the boards. Try to keep it simple. I mean, the ice is never really good, so sometimes I throw out the odd toe drag, but that's not really my game.
So when you're playing minor hockey as a kid, when are you starting to kind of realize like, okay, hey, you know what? I got something here.
To be honest, like it was probably later on, like closer, like the CCHL draft. Like growing up, I was just kind of like mid-pack, just like having fun, not really thinking anything of it. And then even like the junior A draft, I was like one of the later rounds. And then kind of just my first year in the CCHL, just playing a lot, starting to actually like understand like playing against older players and knowing what you can and can't do really helped for my development. I think that's when kind of like a light switch came on that I could do something positive with the game.
When you get drafted to the CCHL, so that's kind of like, I guess, when things start ramping up and you're taking it a little bit more seriously now.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of find it, I don't know, different from other leagues. We get drafted like 14 or 15, so I mean that's so young. And I mean, when you get drafted, I mean you got protects, and then you got I think 4 rounds or something. So I was like the third round. Don't quote me on that. I'm not completely sure, but
You're fourth
uh,
round.
yeah. So I was one of the later rounds. So I mean, yeah, it's kind of exciting, kind of gets you like going, wanting to work harder to try to make that next jump, because that's your kind of next goal, is to make that league before even thinking of the OHL. Because at 14, you're thinking about it, but you don't think that the OHL is kind of attainable.
Yeah, and I guess so. Just kind of taking through your Cumberland grads experience there, because that's definitely a time where, you're kind of coming to as a hockey player and really starting to develop into your own kind of game and style.
Yeah, I mean, that year was tough. I mean, our team didn't do great. I mean, we went through 3 or 4 different coaches. So, I mean, that was kind of good to like learn to adapt to different adversities and kind of like gelling with the guys in the room to just get through the season. As a 16-year-old, I came in and played a bunch of minutes. I can't thank them enough for giving me the opportunity to play so much. Kind of midway through the season, I had the opportunity to go to London, but I was just so well set up. I mean, I live 10 minutes away from the rink. I was still at my home high school, like with all my friends. So that would have been kind of a tough jump to kind of move away halfway through the season, halfway through the school year. So with everything considered, I mean, I was playing so much and I felt like I was really developing well that year that I just stayed. And I think that really made a huge difference for the rest of my career.
Now, take me through, how are you adjusting when there's a different coach coming in? Because I mean, that's something that obviously, all of a sudden you think you got a guy figured out. Now it's completely different, new play style, new coaching style.
I mean, I think it's hard. It's kind of hard. It's I was just coming in fresh. You always have the same either parent coach or like the same coach for the year. So going through so many coaches really I learned how to adapt to different systems. And at the same time, it kind of keeps you on your toes and always wanting to kind of prove yourself to the coach in order to kind of maintain your pecking order. So with the same coach, if he likes you, he's going to play you a lot. But when you got consistently having new coaches, you kind of always have to prove yourself. So it always pushed me to work harder and kind of maintain my spot in the lineup.
Those minutes with the grads there, are you getting like power play as well and penalty kill? Are you doing a little bit of that?
I was getting everything. I was playing like first, second D pairing. I was on the power play. I was on the kill. So that's why, I mean, coming in as a 16-year-old, I mean, I grew tall quick and I needed time to kind of grow into my body and get my coordination down. And those years kind of really helped me to kind of grow into my body, know what I can and can't do against 16 to 21-year-olds.
Yeah, like what age did you hit like 6'6", 6'5" at?
I'd say probably 15, I was 6'4".
Oh wow.
6'3", 6'4", and then over whatever 16 to 20, I gained that extra inch.
How are you? What are you doing to kind of get that coordination right off the bat?
I mean, I think it's mostly like jumping exercises. Try to like more body weight exercises to get like, I don't know, single leg jumps or just going through reps during practice, during games, doing extra skating, stick handling, just to kind of get everything flowing together and not kind of look robotic on the ice.
So now, departing with the Cumberland grads there, and they give you all this ice time, power play, penalty kill, going into like the OHL priority draft as well too. You're a later round pick in round 6. Like, are you defeated there? Were you hoping to go higher, or are you like, okay, sweet, now I'm going to a good organization and I really want to prove myself here?
So I'll start off by saying my best advice for any player getting drafted is to never look at the draft. I mean, the 6th round is 6 of 15. It's still relatively early in the draft, but I sat there and watched the entire draft and it was painful. So I'd rather like just go out, do activities, and if something happens, you'll get a call and try not to think about it. So that's my first thing. So when watching the draft, once you get picked, all of that goes away. I mean, you're just so excited for kind of having a team trust you and getting an opportunity to play at the next level and just keep moving up into hockey.
Now you got to tell me about the London Knights, because I mean, holy smokes, did you ever play in an era where, man, I was re-looking at the rosters and I'm like, yeah, no shit, they won a Mem Cup. Like, this doesn't even make sense.
I know. Like, I remember my first, I think they call it rookie camp. So it's right when you get drafted, like a couple weeks later you go. And I'm hopping on the ice. There's like Michael McCarron, like Max Domi, and those guys were elite at the time. Like in the OHL, those guys are the best players. And then going into main camp, you see Mitch Marner, and then you see Christian Dvorak, and then you see Matthew Tkachuk. And all these guys are like impact players in the NHL. And if you look at our entire roster, I'd say maybe less than 5 players on that Memorial Cup team aren't playing pro or like playing university hockey, which is almost unheard of for an OHL team.
When I was looking at the roster, I was like, okay, like what an incredible blue line. What an incredible like forward thing. I'm like, they definitely had like a weakness in net too. So then I was like, I looked at it and it's like, no,
No.
starting U.S. World Junior goalie who won gold that year with them,
Yeah.
and a second round pick to Calgary. I'm like, yeah, okay, this all makes sense why they were just so dominant. The top 3 guys all 100-point seasons that year.
It was nuts. I mean, like we made a couple moves at the trade deadline, but our team was almost already set. Like we got our backup goalie. He was an overager who's been in the league for 5 years. Our decor nuts. Like 7-8 was Evan Bouchard and I. Like Evan Bouchard was a first round pick. Our entire forward, like all of our forwards, our scratch guys were like signed guys to the NHL. Like it was nuts. But it was a great experience. I mean, I wouldn't trade that year for anything.
How are you coming into that? Because like that is literally your introduction to junior hockey. Like some guys get drafted to organizations where right away they're number 1 and 2 on the depth chart, and they're getting minutes right away. But obviously, I mean, there's realistically no way you're moving up in that lineup during that season.
And that's kind of something that you have to learn moving from, because my first year in the CCHL, you moved up the rankings pretty quick. And I was thinking I could do the same thing. But I mean, realistically, looking back at it, it was kind of silly to think that way. I mean, all these guys are signed to pro deals. So, I mean, that was difficult. But looking back at it, like the amount of things you learn to do the right things every day. Just everyone on that team was a winner. Like we would do anything to win. I mean, the city was going crazy. And it's just a feeling that you kind of thrive for and want to get every year.
Now I'm curious because it's honestly almost too good of an opportunity to kind of pick your brain on what it was like being in the same locker room as all these guys. So I kind of want to almost go down through the roster a little bit and look at some of the more, notable names in that dressing room at the time. You just, you tell me what it was like, just being around them, and if you have any kind of, interesting stories about them as well too. Let's start with Mitch Marner for our Leafs fans.
Yeah. So I mean. Mitch Marner always likes to have fun in the rink, in the room, whatever. He's always bringing the energy. And it's every day before game day, him and Christian Dvorak would be doing things around the net, little in-tight movements. And they wouldn't do until they had a certain amount of success rate on what they were doing. So that's what I remember of him, his work ethic and what he brought to the room, just always being like a happy-go-jolly guy.
Matthew, man, I'm brutal. That's one of the hockey names that I was practicing too beforehand. I'm like, okay, once we get to this part, like Chuck, and dude, it's a tongue twister for myself. I don't know what it is, but I can't get it out of my mouth. But yeah, so Matthew.
So Matthew's the type of guy that you don't even want to play in practice. Like he just always gives it 100%. Like he'll cross check you, he'll do anything to win the battle, and I think that's what you see in his career right now. I mean, he's not like he'll do anything for the team. He's wearing an A as a 23-year-old right now. So he's just, his competitiveness is off the charts.
Victor Mete.
I don't think I've played with anyone as fast as Victor. So he came in, I think his 16, 17-year-old year and played so many minutes, and he would be someone that you don't notice until he's on a breakaway. So he does everything right in the D zone, and then he just jumps off the ice, jump up the ice, sorry. And I mean, he's always in the rush, and he's everywhere on the ice.
Evan Bouchard.
We spent a lot of time together our first year, and then kind of playing against each other. But he's one of the guys that we worked on our one-timers a lot. And if I play against him, I'd always scooch toward one side or talk to him to let him know that I'll give him short side or far side to not soak one from him.
And we'll chat about him later because I do think it's pretty unique, like how you and Robert Thomas basically kind of went to London, won an OHL Mem Cup together there, and then also, rejoined together in Hamilton and won another OHL Cup. So I want to chat about that later, but so we'll dive into a little bit for him. But so sticking with that London theme now, so you get to the playoffs, you guys end up being OHL champions. Like, that's your pinnacle at that point. You must be on cloud nine, considering I just entered this league and now I'm an OHL champ.
Yeah, I mean, it was unreal experience. I think we lost 2 games in the first round again, 0 down, and then won 17 straight to win it all, even the Memorial Cup. So that was nuts. I mean, the energy everywhere in the building, the town, like you'd walk into the rink and everyone would just be so confident, but our work ethic would be the same. Practices would be so crisp. It's like you walk into the rink and everything just executed to a T, and practice just flows, and it's just such a good environment to be in.
When you're going to the Mem Cup, because obviously, like I said, it's your rookie season, so you're kind of taking a limited role. Like, what's your mindset in that capacity there?
Honestly, just kind of work hard, contribute when you can. Don't be a good teammate. I mean, don't be negative that you're not playing. I mean, this is not your time. Just be there for the guys, be there for practice. We'd be mostly like Boucher and I were 7-8. We'd be there on the PK. So we'd mimic what the other team would do on the penalty kill in order to kind of increase our chances to score on the power play when the game time comes.
And then the buzzer sounds and you guys are Memorial Cup champs. Relive it for me.
I don't think my heartbeat's ever beaten that fast. I think it was an overtime goal. It was post being hit, everything. So I honestly almost can't even describe it. It was such a good feeling.
Who scored that goal?
That's still up for debate. I think Tkachuk did. Okay. Actually, no. I think Dvorak, when he drove the net, kind of tipped it. So that's kind of still, I don't know, an unsolved mystery. I think Dvorak did tip it though.
Who got credit on the score sheet for that?
Matthew Tkachuk did.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll who knows? Maybe we'll have to check the tape on that one.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, what a first year! Like when you're in the off season that summer, how are you reflecting on everything? It's like I just started my junior career and now I've got an OHL and Mem Cup behind me.
I mean, it just drives you. I mean, summer was so short. We were done. I got home, I think it was mid-June or early June, like the second week of June. So summer was extremely short, but I mean, you take a couple of weeks off and you get back at it, and it's pretty good energy because the guys you train with are there and you still want to improve. They have a head start, so you're trying to catch up on what they've been doing on the off season so far. So, I mean, you got the taste once, and obviously the next year you want to relive it. So your work ethic's like right up there for that summer.
Did you get to spend much time at the Mem Cup? What'd you do with it?
Oh no, I didn't. I think if we wanted, we had to go pick it up in London. So okay. I could have had a day in London with it, but it was all, I don't know what the situations were. I think for some, it might have been broken or something. So we lost some time, but yeah, I think we're supposed to keep that in the down low.
Yeah. I mean, it's nothing some quick super glue can't fix.
Exactly.
Man, those trophies go through they go through a rough old time, I'll tell you that much.
Oh yeah. I think I even think we broke the one in Hamilton too, to be honest. I wouldn't be surprised if every team kind of injures the cup in a way.
And then it just gets almost like a duct tape fix for next season, then somebody wins
duct tape, welding, whatever it takes.
My favorite like championship story celebration, the senior hockey league out here in Newfoundland, the Claremont Caribous, my hometown, won one year. And like, I'm not even joking with you. One of the guys, like, they were so stoked because they were underdogs for so long, and then they finally got back to it and won. One guy stood on the blue line, the other one on the red line, like in the center ice, and they were throwing it back and forth to each other. Yeah.
Oh goodness.
Now, gearing up for another year in the OHL, you're back with London. I mean, you guys, again, an incredible roster. For the most part, there's not a whole lot of expectation realistically in junior hockey to go back to back. But I mean, looking up and down that lineup, you're definitely, you're realizing, hey, yeah, this is a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, usually in major junior hockey, once you win it, you're kind of in a rebuild for the next 3, 4, 5 years, however long it takes. I mean, we came into the next season and we saw the guys that we kept and the guys that were gone. I mean, the guys that were there kind of took over and took charge. And midway through the season, we added a couple key pieces, and we made another good run that year.
With in regards to it all, now you're picking up more in minutes and things like that. How are you readjusting? And because now you're coming into your own as an OHL London Knight player, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I increased opportunity that second year. I was more of second year you still don't want to do too much, so you're more like focusing on being like solid in the D zone, like not giving the puck away, shutting down the line you're supposed to shut down, and getting pucks through, not getting pucks blocked. So I think that's what I mainly focused on that year.
And during that year too, I mean, another massive hockey moment happens for you. You become drafted to the Toronto Maple Leafs. I mean, relive that one for me, because hey, now it's still round 6, but that's definitely a lot sweeter when it's the NHL calling your name.
Yeah, I guess lucky number 6 for me for both the OHL and the NHL. But I learned from the OHL draft, and I didn't watch it or listen to it. So I went out golfing with my dad and my grandparents. So I got a phone call. I think I was on hole 14 or 15, and then that just couldn't focus for the rest of the round.
Come on, you didn't hit a birdie at least after hearing you were drafted to the Leafs?
Oh no, I think I shanked every shot after that.
Now, I mean, when you get drafted to the NHL, obviously every market's different. And for the most part, there's some markets who aren't really even paying attention to their 6th-round picks. That's not happening in Toronto. Like, there's immediately a lot of eyeballs on you when your name's announced. What's the initial response from like media and fans? And are you like paying much into like what you're reading on Twitter and things of that nature?
I tried to stay away from social media as much as I could. I mean, I know how crazy the Toronto market is, and I mean, I was just trying to focus on what I can control, on my training and my nutrition, and just getting ready for development camp that was coming up soon after the draft.
So when you got to development camp, I mean, is that it's almost probably replicating what happened in London, eh?
Yeah, I mean, my first development camp was, Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, and just a bunch of crazy names. So, I mean, to see where those guys are now is pretty cool to experience that first kind of NHL development camp with guys like that.
And I guess, is Mitch helping you along the way there? 2 former Knights?
Yeah, I mean, first dinner, I think we had our first dinner. Mitch saved me a seat and kind of told me to come sit with him. So, I mean, that was his second time going to a development camp. So I thought it was really, really neat of him to do that and kind of give me a warm welcome.
What's the convo at that dinner?
Oh, just like kind of getting to know the guys around the room. There's guys from Europe, the WHL, QMJHL. So just kind of getting to know everybody, and then it was all business.
What's the best way to kind of get to know new teammates? Because, I mean, obviously you've been kind of playing in the similar locker rooms where everybody's the same age for the longest point in time. And now you've got a finite amount of time in development camp to try and get to know and build chemistry with, like you said, guys from around the world, different ages, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, you get to know your roommate, and I mean, you get to know them through being in the same locker room, going on the ice. I mean, hockey forces you to talk. So even if you're shy, I mean, you're going to get out and start talking to guys. And it's pretty cool, the different chemistries and relationships that I've built and kind of maintain even to this day.
Now, what were your biggest takeaways from the first Leafs development camp?
With their skating coach, I mean, the analytics and the math and biomechanics, that the amount of details that they go through with video, and you're having a Barb Underhill, who's an Olympics figure skater who trains and works with a bunch of different NHL teams. She's kind of, what is she doing? She's drawing lines of different angles, calculating angles, saying it's not the optimal angle. Then she's talking over the video and sending it to you, so you have access to all of that information for the rest of the season, and giving you drills to help you in those situations to kind of improve on that when you go back to the OHL in your season.
So when you start doing those drills, is it almost like you're tying up a pair of skates for the first time? Because I'm curious, is it like such a different thing where now you're like they're really digging in to try and make some improvements? And because I mean, obviously, you're in the OHL, you're playing for a great organization like London and stuff like that. Like, safe to say you're a better skater than the vast majority of people, but I'm sure they're just nitpicking, eh?
I mean, there's some new kind of techniques that you can pick up on quicker because it's nothing really awkward. It's just a different positioning or different way of doing it. But then you got other edge works that kind of, it's like if you have a piece of tape on your blade and you're sliding all over the place. So those are things that even to this day, like I struggle with, but I work on it, and I do see a difference in my skating when I consistently work on it.
Now, it was the summer when you got traded to Flint, correct?
It was my second year. I was the second season after I got drafted. I came back from main camp in Toronto, and then it was like that week. It was that week that I got traded.
When you first get the call, I mean, how are you feeling?
I was just leaving the rink. I was going golfing, and then it just kind of like tore me apart. I had no clue that I was going to get traded. I mean, my billets were like a second family to me. I mean, I was really comfortable in the city and the room, so that was really, really hard moment.
Did you at least hit a birdie this golfing round, or did that one?
I didn't even end up going. I dropped the guys off and went home to kind of figure my stuff out.
Yeah, fair enough. Makes sense, because I mean, the thing is too is it's not even like you're going to similar markets in the OHL, right? Obviously, London and Flint are two very different spots. Now you're in America.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. You got to do your phone plan, your car insurance, everything. Like different stores, different facility. It's just, I mean, I've never lived in the States, and that was a great experience, but there's a lot of things to kind of consider and get ready to move to Flint.
Yeah, so like what's the to-do list there essentially?
Phone was number one. I had to get a Canada-US phone plan, car insurance, as I said. And after everything else, like bank accounts, the team would help you with, and everything else kind of flowed afterwards. But things that I had to do personally, like the insurance and the phone plan, was something that I had to get done quick, because I think I had like within 48 hours I was in Flint.
Oh wow, okay, so yeah, it's not much time to really process the decision. When do you think? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean, I just got the call. I think it was like a 4 or maybe like 3 in the afternoon, and the next morning I was on my way.
So when do you think you actually process like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm a part of Flint's organization now?
Probably on my drive down.
Yeah.
Once I got to the rink. I mean, you're kind of just in shock that night. You're not really sleeping a lot. You have to pack all your stuff. Saying goodbye to your billets was tough. I think the drive down really hit me, that I was kind of, that chapter of my life's over, and there's a new door opening for me in Flint.
Did you do that drive by yourself?
So in the OHL, there's like a chaperone almost. You have to follow a coach or someone of the organization. And then at the border, we switched, and someone in Flint picked me up, and I followed them the rest of the way.
Oh, so you're in the car by yourself though?
I'm in the car by myself, yeah.
Yeah. How long of a drive is that? Like 8 hours?
No, I think it's like 4. It's not that bad.
Okay,
not
yeah,
I'm almost 3 to 4.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm still not too familiar with Ontario and how close it is to, but no, because I was just gonna say that would be a lot of time to just kind of sit and process things by yourself. Did you have any music on at least, or anything playing like that?
Yeah, I definitely had music. If I wasn't on the phone with someone, I was listening to music.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, yeah, I don't, dude. Yeah, that's it's one of those drives, eh?
Yeah, it was a tough one. I mean, it's definitely the hardest trade I've gone through, but I mean, it helped build the person I am today. So
yeah, well, at the end of the day, unfortunately, it is part of the game, and you mentioned now it's a new opportunity and things of that. When you first kind of start lacing it up now for Flint, how are you feeling? What are your expectations for yourself?
Oh, I was coming in. I was, first pairing. They were expecting a lot out of me. So I mean, I think we had a younger team too. So I had to be like a strong leader for the younger guys. Coming in with just winning and going deep in my second year. Those guys were really looking up to me. So I mean, I had to be like strong work ethic. I had to be a good teammate around the room to the staff, and just be kind of a role model and help. I mean, Flint was just a newer organization also, so kind of helped. I mean, they told me what they'd want to be with their culture and the culture they want to build, so I kind of helped mold the players to match their culture.
Well, it's interesting because I mean they've honestly over the last year have kind of almost gotten there, because when you were there, they were probably bottom of the feeding frenzy in terms of like the rankings for the OHL, and now they're up in the standings of last season. It would have been interesting to see if the year continued on, how they would have finished out.
Yeah, they definitely had a good year last year. I mean, those 16-year-olds were 19, 20 now, so they've learned from their younger years, and they were able to kind of perform and get a lot of wins under their belts.
Now, I mean, looking at some old Instas from you and stuff like that, you definitely integrated yourself into that community and stuff with like some hospital visits and things like that pretty quickly. I mean, how's that feel like? Because I mean, you're trying to fall in love with the city essentially already, and now you right away going out and interacting with different parts of their community.
I mean, I think the community events or kind of outreach programs that I've done like really opened my eyes. I mean, we went to an orphanage and we met some of the kids. We gave them some toys, and that really opened my eyes. And it's like, wow, like us coming in here really puts a smile on their face. So it kind of got me to want to do more community work, because these kids really look up to us, and we can really shine a bright light in their day.
Did that kind of clue in and click for you in Flint? Or I guess, obviously London has a few things there too.
I mean, London was, I think, different because, I mean, there's always so many people around, and it was so busy. You go to games, there's 9,000 plus fans. You go to community events. I mean, we go to mall visits, and we're separated out, and there's lineups at every table. So, I mean, going in Flint and, kids in an orphanage, I don't even know if they knew we were there, but really seeing like their face light up was, I don't know, kind of clue in moment for me that we can really do some positive in the community.
Smaller market, so you get to have the opportunity to do a little bit more too.
Yeah, it was nice. Even the hospital visits as well. I mean, hospital visits, I think it was in the same day, and that was really like kind of a heavy day to see like what these kids are going through and how positive we can kind of, how much positivity we can bring on those kids in a single day was nice to see.
So now, we just kind of did a deep dive into, processing such a massive trade for yourself and going from, a place where you won an OHL Cup and a MEM Cup and, introduce you to junior hockey. But, now after 38 games roughly in Flint, you're packing your bags one more time and heading to Hamilton. Back up, are you switching the phone plan at this point again? And
no, I think I was stuck in that phone plan, so I was paying about $140 a month for the next like 2 years or something.
Oh, that's a rough go, but yeah. So you're back in Canada, back in Hamilton. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I was really excited to go to Hamilton. I mean, they already moved Nick Mattinen and Ryan Moore from Flint, the two older guys that were, and Nick was drafted by Dallas, signed, I think, at the time. And Ryan Moore was an overager that performed well. So going to a team like that as well, when I was about to get traded, I was talking to Robbie, and he was talking about going to Hamilton too. And I was just so excited to get going there. And, as I said, that feeling to win again, I mean, I think that I had butterflies in my stomach when I finally got the call saying I was getting moved to Hamilton.
Yeah, so I mean, take me through that, because is that just something that, because obviously everybody wants to win, and sometimes it's just you're in a situation where that at some point you never want to really give up, but you kind of realize like, hey, yeah, we're we're not in the playoff picture. Like, the season is kind of coming to an end in terms of that aspiration to win. But then that's a whole 180 once you get that call.
Yeah, everything switches. I mean, if you were down and kind of negative, then that call changes everything. You smile on your face, you got energy, you're just so excited for the opportunity to play with a bunch of great hockey players and great people. And I think that's what the general manager in Hamilton, Steve Stais, did a great job in doing his research into, the team already had a great group of guys, a core guys, and adding on people with great character and work ethic to add to that and not kind of affect it in any way.
And I mean, obviously it worked out because, you guys end up winning the OHL. You're reconnected there with, you mentioned just briefly Robert Thomas. You guys have such a incredible kind of pathway in terms of your junior career together. I mean, like I said, you're in that London room, OHL Cup, Mem Cup, then you get reunited, and then, you find yourself back at the Mem Cup again after winning an OHL championship.
So the funny thing with Robbie and I is we were roommates. We lived at the same house in London. We lived there for 2 years together. And when I got traded, he was still at camp, so I didn't really say bye to him. So I left for about 4 months. He went back to London. He was named captain. He was at the World Juniors when he got traded. So I was kind of shooting texts back and forth, and we were like, oh my gosh, like if this is happening, like we'd want to live again together. So we didn't end up living together, but we were living, there was one house separating both of our billets out. So we were always drive to the rink and stuff. But I mean, going back and playing with him was unbelievable. He's like a brother to me. And I mean, going through another championship kind of experience with him was something I'll never forget.
Mm-hmm. Listen, you got to tell me, what's his secret? Dude wins 2 OHL Cups, a Mem Cup, World Juniors, Stanley Cup already. Like, what?
Yeah, I don't even, was he 21 when he won all those? Yeah. I don't know. Guy's got an eye for the game. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be some things that you're noticing where you're like, oh, okay, yeah, this makes sense why you're just elite.
He has eyes all around his head. Like, he makes passes that I don't even think's possible. I mean, if you're in a position where you're like, oh, I think I'm in a good spot, well, he'll find you and you'll be surprised that he got you the puck. And you can see that even today, like his pass on the first goal and his first in the game last night or 2 nights ago was nuts.
I actually seen a podcast clip of him because he appeared on, I forget the name now. It came up on TikTok right quick, but it was essentially he was on a podcast recently and he was talking about his first NHL goal, and they like ran a clip of it, and I was like, holy! It was like shelf like bar down on like Pecorine. I'm like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, guy knows how to score and pass the puck. That's for sure.
So now take me through that Hamilton playoff run, because obviously, you've been a part of it before and now you're just trying to get back to that moment.
That playoff run was unbelievable. I mean, Sault Ste. Marie was in the other division and they really loaded up as well. And everyone, I think, had them as a favorite to win. And I mean, going through the teams we've gone through, even Kingston loaded up. They had a bunch of London players like Max Jones, Cliff Koo, getting through them and then getting to the Sioux was a crazy series. I mean, we won in game 6, but I mean, I think we won the first game on the road and we were so fired up. The last game, game 6, I think they opened up the upper bowl in Hamilton. So there's 2 upper bowls and it's in old AHL rinks. So usually the lower bowl holds about 9,000-10,000. So they opened up part of the upper bowl and we had about 13,000-14,000 fans just screaming. And then when the final buzzer rang and we beat the Sioux, it was unbelievable feeling.
What's that first bus ride home after you go on the road and get that first dub?
Oh, I mean, knowing that we split them in the first 2 games is huge because I mean we were playing so well at home. I think that we were excited to play them. I mean, because we just want to prove everybody wrong. Everyone thought we were the underdogs. So once we beat them, I think it just spoke, like, as a player, like when you're in a good room, the guys are playing for each other. No one's about to cheat for personal success. I mean, I had a feeling that we were going to go far.
Who did they load up with? I'm blanking on who they brought in.
Radish, Sambrook, they both traded from what was it, Erie, and then they had those guys, Frost, Kachuk, just a bunch of like Matt Hollowell who's playing for the Marlies right now.
Mm-hmm. Now you're also taking up more minutes now at this point because you're later into your junior career. How are you like in terms of like conditioning? Making sure that you're prepared night in and night out.
Yeah, after games, I'd talk to our trainer, and I'd be doing extra like sprints or whatnot. As a bigger guy, I mean, having good cardio can really help you. So that's what I would be doing. I'd hit the treadmill after games to kind of just keep it up and be ready if we're stuck in long overtimes or whatnot.
Now you win the OHL, you're back at the Memorial Cup tournament again. It keeps elevating for you at this point, right? Now it's the Mem Cup stage, and you're playing more minutes and things like that. Knowing and having such a close like front row seat and being a part of that London Mem Cup win, what are you thinking when you're going into the tournament yourself now in a more predominant role?
It's just exciting. I mean, going back and having the ability to be an impact player is exciting. I mean, the media coverage, the analysis that you see on TV all the time or talking to you face to face, just the hype around the entire city, the room. It's a crazy feeling, and it was just such a great experience.
Take me through the semifinal game, and you don't really get the result that you want. How are you dealing with that?
Yeah, I mean, I hate losing to the hosts. I mean, we beat the Q champs, the WHL champs, and we lost to the hosts in the round robin, and we lost to them again in the semis. I mean, I don't know, they just had something for us. I don't know if they scouted something, they knew something that maybe we didn't know they had. I don't know. We just couldn't get through them for some reason or not.
Bathurst won that year, correct?
Yeah.
How do you think you would have matched up against them in the final?
We beat them in the round robin. So that's all I'll say.
Yeah, I can tell too. It's funny because it's like you never really, even though like time heals the wounds and stuff like that. I can tell just from your eyes, you're still like, man, put me in that Mem Cup final game.
I know it's I just want to play for all the marbles again. I mean, going back, I just hope I wish you can reverse time and do it all over again to hopefully get a different result.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know more too, right? And you develop as a player, and you start seeing things a little bit differently, and you're just like, oh, if I had done X, Y, and Z, maybe we could have gotten the result that we wanted.
Yeah, when you think about it a lot, that's what happens, and it's kind of even harder to deal with afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, for me, because even just in like that's such a thing with like everyday life when you start stressing like in particular things, and sometimes at some point you do need to move on. How like what are your strategies with that? Because I mean that's something that I am just like constantly like I fixate on one thing, and I almost, if it's like going for 2 or 3 days, I'm like, man, Rob, like get out of your own head here.
Yeah, I mean, I think I had to I consulted mental coaches throughout my career and talking to them about it, kind of just them reinforcing that I have to focus on what I can control and everything else is kind of out of your hands. So you can't really dwell on it or else it'll affect your day-to-day performance and motivation. So just going back to work and kind of chopping away at every day, working as hard as you can, doing what you need to do to give yourself the best opportunity to succeed if you're in that kind of spotlight again.
So now you enter back into the OHL for like your OA season. What was the process beforehand? Like, what were you kind of thinking? What was, some talks with pro teams and things like that before?
So that season I got released by the Leafs after the Memorial Cup.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to the Sens main camp that summer. So that was a good experience. Always going to camps, you learn a lot. Going back into Hamilton, I mean, we still had a lot of kind of optimism, not knowing who would be back. And we had a bunch of guys that did so well that signed AHL deals, signed NHL deals, played in the NHL. So our team we lost a lot of players from the previous year, and that kind of led us into selling at the trade deadline to kind of start a rebuild.
Mm-hmm. How did you handle, getting released for the first time? Because essentially, in a way, that's the first time in your hockey career you're pretty much probably getting cut from a team.
Yeah, that was a hard one. I mean, especially like you're thinking to yourself, what else can I do? I mean, you're playing good minutes on a championship team that beat an like as an underdog team, shutting down the top lines, that like shutting down their top players, going to the Memorial Cup, performing well, and then getting released is tough. It's never easy. But looking back, I mean, you look at their roster and their depth chart, and it's almost impossible to crack the NHL or AHL lineup for the Toronto Maple Leafs organization right now.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is I think it's interesting. And I had a chat with someone about this. It's another podcast episode, and we basically, like, what he mentions is what a lot of people don't understand is once you get to that pro level, it's like sometimes the difference between, number 1 and number 10 isn't that much, but it's just like such a fraction of a thing that, like, realistically there is no control over it.
Yeah, it's just something that it's hard to live with. But I mean, there's just such a slight amount of difference from the guys who make it and don't at that level that, like now it's like you just, you cheer on your friends that are up there, and, you just do what you do, and kind of life moves on.
So now, after all that, you don't get the finish that you want with the Mem Cup, and you get released from the Leafs. Now you've got to try and regroup and perform in that OA season. How are you, like, handling that right away? Because you started the year in Hamilton.
Yeah. So starting the year in Hamilton, I was an overager. I think I was the only returning player from the top six the year previous. So I mean, I had a heavy load to kind of like mentor the younger crop coming in.
Mhm.
I mean, I played a lot of minutes. I learned a lot. It was fun still playing with guys like Matt Strom and Mackenzie Entwistle and like Brandon Sagent. We still had some of the guys that, we'd play power play together. We'd have good chemistry. We'd still succeed. But I mean, we just didn't do as great in the first half, which led us to kind of have to part ways with some of our players to kind of start a rebuild.
Mhm. And obviously, that package included yourself, and now you're going to Oshawa. You were telling me about that trade. There was a little bit of a awkward kind of hiccup and all that, eh?
Yeah, I mean, everything that kind of happened there, I don't know with how Oshawa kind of sold their top board and their top D-man that year to Niagara, and then brought Brandon Sage and I in. Um, I don't know what the thought process was, but it worked out for Oshawa at the end. So I was really happy to be a part of that team, and they're a great group of guys, and really enjoyed my time there.
Yeah, and I mean, I definitely can attest to that because when we went into the playoffs for, like, U Sports with uOttawa this season, I mean, I got the chance to kind of tag along with you when we were in that first round of Ontario Tech, and got to see you, like, interact with some of the guys who were there in Oshawa and the equipment manager. And for me, it was a lot of fun, but I could definitely tell you really did enjoy your time, and they do have a great organization there. I got to say, from just the guys that you introduced me to.
Yeah, I mean, from the owner to the GM, the coaches, Greg Walters was phenomenal. I mean, one of the best coaches I've ever had. Um, the equipment manager, Cheto, was unbelievable. And you come in and you really feel at home. I mean, they have a great facility. I mean, their fan base is unreal. And just, going through to the Eastern Conference Finals that year was great, especially, I don't know, the series against Niagara was fun, and I'm glad we got through them. So.
Yeah, that man, that year in terms of playoff hockey in the OHL was crazy with, like, you guys, and then I mean what Guelph was doing on the other side of the division. Like, they came back in pretty much every series. They were down, like, I think they had like a four, like they were down like 3-0 once,
Yeah.
and like down 2 games multiple times.
Yeah, they woke up when their backs were against the wall, that's for sure.
Yeah, and then obviously even the 67s too, and what they did with, like, basically going, what, 16 games or something before losing the first one there.
Yeah, that was a tough one, especially the last game we played them when we were up, I think 1 or 2 with like 3 minutes to go, and it's a 5-on-3 that ends up kind of going into overtime and scoring on that same power play. So that was a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, I can recite that whole thing for you because I was man, I'm
I saw the
sorry.
Instagram pictures on the ice.
Oh, dude. Yeah, that one was obviously I was on the other side of that there with the 67, so I was having a great time, and I definitely put my boot in the mouth when we walked through Oshawa, and you were just saying man, the last time I was in this rink, like it was some shitty memories. And I was like, oh, really? Like, man, last time I was in this rink, I had a great time. And then like I clicked that you were on the other end of that Oshawa team.
Yeah, it wasn't a great feeling, that's for sure.
Yeah, my bad, bud.
It's okay.
No, so but I will say with Oshawa, man, like you really came into your own. Like, you're over what, like I want to make sure I get this right. So with Hamilton, you in 40 games that year. You get 30 points, and then you get traded. You only get 28 games with the Generals, but I mean, you surpass that point total in 40 games in Hamilton with 31, and then you go from a -1 to a +17. It's also got to be a testament to the guys around you as well, too, because that was a great Generals team.
Yeah, I mean, the guy, once again, when the room clicks, I mean, that room clicked. Everyone worked for one another. I mean, I was playing with, I think, Will Ennis, which is probably one of the most unrecognizable guys on the ice because he just does everything right in the D zone, which is what you want out of a D man. So that gave me the opportunity to kind of jump up in the play a little bit more, knowing that he'd have my back.
Yeah, well, is that really like because have you kind of credit like do you would identify as like an offensive defenseman, or do you think you're more like stay at home? I guess.
I think the older you get, you kind of get more of an offensive flair. Young, like earlier on in my OHL career, the coaches, like I feel like you're on a shorter leash, so you kind of want to limit your mistakes and you just want to take care of your D zone and make the simple play. And as you kind of get older, you're expected to produce more and taking a little bit more educated risks, but more risks than you would in the earlier years is something that you kind of build over and know what you can and can't do as you progress through the years in that league.
Mm-hmm. And I know I've kind of harped on, some of the lower moments of your junior career, but I mean, I think, it's important to chat about the tough trades and the unfortunate losses because, that's really, where you grow. But I mean, obviously your junior experience is something incredible. Looking back on it now, what are some of your top moments? I mean, obviously the Mem Cup is there and the OHL Cups and whatnot.
I mean, everyone from like the relationships with the equipment managers, the coaches, the owners, my billet families. I mean, I didn't have all my billet families were phenomenal. I mean, I'd go back and live there in a heartbeat. Uh, it's just all the memories, the relationships you build, and it's just something that you won't forget for the rest of your life. And you're just so thankful that I got to kind of live through it. And it's something that I can always look back on and be proud of.
Yeah, no, I mean, you certainly can. Holy smokes, dude. Like that's man, I wish I was like half as good just so I could kind of like be on the shoulder of that career and take a look at it. Like it's got to be so much fun and just the pride that you're able to have too in the group of guys that you were surrounded with and how everybody like I mean it's got to like I don't know what and how this happened, but I mean pretty much everybody around you in your hockey career has just like excelled immensely, including yourself, right? Like you guys are stars in the NHL, you're stars in the U Sports rank. Like you got guys signing pro deals over in Europe as well and coast deals. Like it's something special.
I think, I mean, it's you gotta give some like credit to luck. I mean, the fact that the first year in London I didn't get traded, or the second year I got to grow and still go deep in the playoffs, and then get traded to a team that gives me a lot of ice time for me to like kind of grow even more, and then get traded to a team that is going for it and being more of an impact player there. And then it's just like little things, decisions that other people make that gives you an opportunity to grow and succeed and have success in the league. And it's just something that honestly, if I go through it again, it might not happen the same way, or probably won't. And it's just something that looking back on, I just feel lucky and grateful that I've lived through all the great experience that I've I've gone through.
Mm-hmm. And so now it's U Sports time, uOttawa. That's where you end up committing. When did they first kind of come on your radar? Because, like, for people who don't know, essentially, like, unless there's like a special approval, if I'm not mistaken, you can like schools can only chat to overage your players.
Yeah, I think they can only chat to overage players, and they're only allowed to talk to you during the regular season, and all communications cut off during playoffs to kind of let us just focus on our season. I've talked to a couple teams. I kind of knew I always wanted to go back home. I mean, just going to different teams, you want to go back to a bigger city where on weekends you have different activities to do, and having like my hockey as well as like my social group from back home and like my high school friends is that I have someone just like people that haven't been around in like 4 or 5 years. I think that was a big deciding factor for me.
Yeah, so you're back home now, but before you joined the GGs, you were at Boston or Dallas's camp or both?
I went to Dallas's camp the like right before I came, so I missed the Germany trip with University of Ottawa, and I was in Dallas for their camp.
Yeah, that's still a pretty solid vacation. How was Dallas?
It's nice, really warm. You get to see like Jamie Benn and his brother work out and other guys, and it's pretty cool experience. I mean, it's nice to be able to say that you've gone to different NHL camps, so like meet different people, kind of network with different like coaches and different feedbacks on training methods or like skating or basically like puck skills. So it's good that you can kind of take in all the information, put together kind of a plan that can best suit you and what your game style and what you want to improve on.
Yeah, because you went what Ottawa, Toronto, and Dallas in terms of the camps that you've attended.
Yeah, 2 years in Toronto, then 1 year Ottawa and Dallas.
What were some of the things? What do you think? Like looking back on ones where you're like, yeah, I kind of took this away from that one, and yeah, I took this away from that one, and so on.
Toronto was definitely the skating. Ottawa was probably the different like unique skills drills that we did at practice. And then Dallas, I'd probably say their training program was pretty elite with different apps that they would use with like video recordings of all the workout plans and the exercise and your weight and what you kind of custom on your body type and what you're trying to improve, and they kind of suggest a weight and you can kind of vary it off of how you feel and how you perform.
That Dallas camp, did you get basically anybody's number real good in practice? Were you able to shut some guys down where you were like, oh yeah, like take some pride in that to start up the university season?
Yeah, I think we had our scrimmage game, and I think our team won at a couple points, so that definitely felt good transitioning back to university.
Yeah, I mean, who are you setting up on those? Take me through that scrim game now, because obviously that's completely different.
Yeah, I mean, you have a bunch of different players like Jason Robertson who's played. You got a bunch. I think when I went to Traverse City with them, we were like 20 or 21 players, and I was a 22nd player, and I was the only guy that wasn't signed or drafted by the Dallas team. So I was the only outside invite. So I mean,
that's got to be a little bit of excitement there. Like you definitely hold some pride to that, eh?
Absolutely, yeah. Even especially knowing they had a bunch of like OHL players that they signed, so knowing those guys to help you like kind of familiarize and like kind of hang out with when like we're not at the rink is nice, and obviously like being the only invite's something to be proud of.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm gonna tell you, man, you did miss out on a good Germany trip.
Yeah, I mean, I see pictures and playing in an outdoor rink basically looked pretty cool.
Yeah, that one that still doesn't make sense to me, but essentially it's just a strategy so you can smoke your darts in the rink.
Was there a roof and no walls or nothing
It
surrounding?
was like no ceiling on the back half of it, basically. So it was almost like similar to like an arena in football, but there's still half a ceiling. So like the back half was just not there.
Interesting.
I'm curious, like, what do they do when, oh, hey, yeah, we just have a massive rainstorm right now and it's the second period and like Because I mean, rain can definitely come in on an angle and just absolutely pour. So I mean, are you like continuing like?
I don't know. I feel bad for the goalie that's at that end.
Yeah. Hey, imagine you're just like trying to deal with pucks and just getting like pelted from behind with just like rain droplets, or even like, you get late into the season, it's a snowstorm.
Oh God. You blame it on you have something to blame if you lose that game.
And hey, listen, I was a goalie once, 8.8 goals against average, probably something like that. And honestly, I'm probably being generous. It was maybe more for my career, 12 goals against. And I'll guarantee you that I'm 100% blaming all that weather and anything else. Like I'm telling people, a bird flew in and got in my eyesight, and I didn't see nothing. If I'm taking every excuse that I possibly can with that.
Which you got to do sometimes.
Listen, it's not perfect, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So you gotta play it out and analyze the field in front of you. So you just finished up your first season at uOttawa. I mean, take me through the whole year. Like, obviously, that's kind of where I first met you, and essentially I get to kind of get a front row seat to your play and style for the first time. But yeah, take me through year one at UO.
Um, I mean, we had a pretty good regular season. I mean, we had our ups and downs. I mean, we had games where we were lights out and we're like, wow, we can be unstoppable. And then we had games where we kind of we got away from our system. So it was kind of I was like, try not to panic. By playoff time, we'll dial it in and we'll build a good rhythm and kind of momentum during the playoffs. We started off like the end of our regular season was kind of not the best. Like we would win, but wouldn't be playing the right way. And then once playoff time came around, then that's when the guys kind of really bought into the system, and that's when we had some success.
And for the first time now too, this is almost like you're a rookie again, but your like workload is probably similar to the level of when you're in Hamilton and Oshawa. Like, you're clocking a lot of minutes for the first time as a rookie now.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of brought me back, kind of a similar situation to the CCHL when I came in and kind of worked my way up the lineup, and it was good for the confidence and being able to play solid minutes on the new team, and that helps you kind of be more vocal in the room, and kind of everything follows after that.
You got paired up with Corms.
Yeah.
How was that?
It was good. I mean, at the beginning, I think we were giving our coach gray hairs because we were kind of both jumping in the rush, but we kind of dialed it back and we were more responsible when playoff time come.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are definitely that's a pairing that's got to be tough to control. I wonder how Sully does it.
I think we aged him by a couple of years, that's for sure.
Oh man, what were you thinking when you heard the news that your D partner was going to be chasing like playing in the coast now?
I mean, it's really exciting for him. I mean, like playing pro is always something that you look back on and you can tell your kids. And it's always cool. Like some of those players, if not him, can move up and play in the NHL one day. So it's a great experience. I'm still talking to him today, and he's loving it. He's having lots of fun, and they're still playing games right now, which is not something we can say.
Yeah, that's it's always an interesting dynamic when you end up going to another league and you get to basically resume play while otherwise you just kind of be waiting. That's got to be something that, I mean, how are you dealing with that? Like, just trying to figure out when you get to lace it up for a game again.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now you got to be realistic, and I think it's going to be basically the start of the 2021-2022 season. So it's hard. Hockey and sports is part of your identity, and kind of have it ripped away for an entire year is something that none of us have kind of gone through. Right now, you're just trying to stay busy, like working, doing school, staying active, going on walks, like listening to podcasts, just trying to keep yourself busy to not think of what you're missing, but just, kind of get through this time.
What's your go-to podcast listen for your walks?
There's Crime Beat, I think, is one of them. And then there's this mindset podcast. I can't remember exactly the name, but it was the one I listened to is about Lindsey Johnson, who's the New York Yankees mental coach. And there's something that you can take away from it every 3-4 minutes. So those are things that you can kind of listen to and educate yourself while you're walking instead of just listening to music, and kind of help yourself grow as a human and better yourself.
Yeah, you're always trying to learn, eh?
Yeah, especially in these times. I mean, learning is kind of a getaway. I can't say I really love school, but school is fun in order to kind of take away like you thinking of everything else.
Yeah, I mean, it's always nice because it's almost like you still get an agenda, and it's like, in a way, there's this similar comparison with, say, your hockey, where it's like, hey, you're responsible for XYZ, make sure it's in on time, and make sure like you complete it and, finish it with an adequate mark.
Exactly. I mean, we have our usually it's like hockey school, like 1-2. Now it's like, well, it's like school hockey, but hockey's kind of getting replaced with just being like physically active right now. And yeah, it's tough. It's tough to find something to replicate kind of like the competitiveness, the bond with the team, the bond with your coaches and then everything, and kind of going into work every day. So it's something that I can't wait to get back to.
Mm-hmm. No, 100%. Like that routine is it's a lot of fun to just even be a part of in any kind of role. You said the other podcast was a true crime one. You're into that?
Yeah, I mean, if I can't find a good mindset one, then the true crime one is pretty good.
Man, I can't get into the true crime stuff. I'm not a fan. I can't say.
Oh, sometimes I'm walking by myself, something scary is happening, and I'm looking behind me a couple times just to make sure no one's following.
Dude, that would be my thought process. Like I literally went through a walk like a couple days ago, and where I'm like living in Newfoundland, I'm right on the water, and basically like you can hear the waves like clear as day, but there was something like intense happening like in the podcast or whatnot, and I was kind of like dialed into that, and then I just hear a big like whoosh, and dude, like that, man, my heart like skipped a couple of beats there, and I'm like, I don't think I could even get into the realm of having that being a horror story on top of that.
Yeah.
So now I want to talk more, the education side. And you're saying that you're using school as an escape. What are you studying at UO right now?
I'm in human kinetics right now.
Okay. So what are you hoping to kind of do with that?
Next year, so I'm kind of taking classes throughout my career. So I'm basically 1 year ahead. And after next year, I'm hoping to get into chiropractic college.
Okay. Feel Dr. Matt.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think you'd like open up your own practice or kind of like work with a team or things like that, or even
My parents are chiros, so I hopefully just take that over.
Oh, hey man, you learn something new every day. I'm learning all about you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Has that well, that must be like almost an added advantage at that point, eh? Like with in terms of like going through hockey now, like you got two parents who are super knowledgeable in how to take care of your body and make sure you're rehabbing properly.
Yeah, I can definitely credit that to like not having many injuries. I mean, I've only missed games for a fluke little injury at the University of Ottawa, but my entire OHL career, I mean, with their kind of like maintenance kind of adjustments and different exercises from our trainers, I've been very fortunate not getting injured.
Yeah, well, let's knock on wood for that. And
Yeah.
so once you get back to a season, because what was interesting when you come to uOttawa, like there's set like that grad class of 17 graduating players, and now that like that's all gone. So I mean, realistically, it's like Mongo, Wardo. I don't think I'm
Vanny, Hanno,
Yeah,
Hodgie.
yeah, okay, yeah, man. Let's
So
hope.
we're like 6, 7.
Yeah, let's hope those guys don't listen to the podcast because I completely blanked on them. I didn't forget about you guys. I'm just, I'm all the way out in Newfoundland. Sometimes we just don't get the service for me to remember all these names, right? But no, yeah. So now you're like what are you thinking now? Like you're back into a brand new situation where you got a whole new, like a massive rookie class that's pretty deep, and now they're kind of looking at you after being a guy in your first year who had a prominent role again.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing you want to do is get to know everybody and kind of shake their hands and look them in the eye and say, "Hey, introduce yourself." That's not something that we had the luxury to do this year. We're all kind of spread up for the first couple months of of September to basically November. We were all kind of cohorted into different groups of 6. So I might have been grouped up with another like group going half ice, but I can honestly say I don't think I've met half the guys on the team. So that's hard. And now basically being all our training being canceled for the rest of the year almost. I won't even get to kind of meet them this year and get to know them. And we'll get a new class next year, which is going to be like a brand new team minus a couple guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely weird to think about like how you're supposed to like grow as a group, because I mean, what's even more interesting is in terms of the U sport landscape right now, like you have AUS teams who, some of them for the most part have been able to practice at times through the summer and like keep that consistent, like just because of the COVID situation on the East Coast, right? So I mean, how are you trying to combat that? Because that's almost, I'll say, like an unfair advantage in a way. Once you get to, like, obviously you're not competing in the same conference, but if you got back to that national stage.
Yeah, I mean, going across province, like if Gatineau or Quebec was fine, then Three Rivers and Concordia and those teams, McGill would be able to practice, which would be an advantage because I mean we've been off the ice for almost 2 months now.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, like once kind of like the red zones, hot spots in Ontario calms down, we can get back on the ice. But right now, it's everyone's in the same boat, so it's especially for our league since we're all basically in the same province. But it's definitely like it's tough. I mean, it's going to be weird. It's going to be I'm going to be a Bambi when I go back on the ice. That's for sure.
So, man, you've been chasing dreams and the game for the longest point in different milestones and different championships. What's Nick Mattinen chasing now?
Right now, just trying to get my undergrad done and kind of see where it takes me. Who knows what Europe can offer me after next year. If not, then what's
You
that?
say year up or Europe?
Europe, sorry,
Like
overseas.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, overseas. So who knows what opportunity I can get there. If not, then you know what, move on, finish my academics, complete, a chiropractic college, and kind of, just reminisce on the good times in the OHL and all the friendships I've made. And you know what, I can't say I have a favorite team because all my buddies are on different teams, and I just want everyone to do great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, reflect on the old junior days with a guy like me over Zoom. Hey, I'm sorry, man. It's I wish I could be better for you.
Oh, it's fine. I love it.
Dude, this has been great. I really enjoyed our chat on, like, even that plane ride from Ottawa to Halifax that time, and getting to know you. It's funny enough because the first time I actually ever met you was in that was at Titan during
Right. Yeah, that's right.
yeah. So you were working out with Pat. So there's sometimes where like you're working out, for context for people who don't know Pat, he's a linebacker, so football. So, two completely different off-season mindsets in a way. Just kind of talk to me about how that's your circle, more or less.
So basically, like I grew up with Pat. Like I went to pre-K with him, and I've gone to school with him, like growing up, high school, elementary school, everything. So like we're pretty close, and we both have like the same goals. We're both on like varsity teams, and we both just want to get in shape. And it's hard for us around where we live. There's not many kind of like I don't have any OHL friends or like many hockey friends that are still competitive that can kind of go to the gym with me and kind of push me. So Pat and I, we both love like physical activity, and we can both create our own programs and whatnot. So just going to the gym with someone else, and having him push me push him, and just helps us to kind of get in the gym and get our work done.
What are you taking away from him? Like, what lessons is he teaching you?
He's taught me that I'm not strong compared to a linebacker in football. He can squat about 3 times what I can, but I don't know, just different, like running techniques. That first summer when I saw you, like I never really worked on running techniques, and then he was kind of teaching me things with Joey. I thought it was the most awkward thing. It reminded me of going back to skating for the first time. So, learning how to be more of an athlete on the ice and how to look more comfortable running and having a better technique are things that I've kind of learned from him over the past couple summers.
Movement is medicine, as they say.
Exactly.
So I kind of want to dive into this a little bit just because I more or less forgot to mention it when we were on the junior. So I'm curious because, like I said, like you've played with so many talented guys along the way, and even that University of Ottawa team last year was full of a lot of great hockey talent. If you're putting together, Nick Mattinen's all-star team from guys that he's played with, 3 forwards, 2 defensemen, and a goalie, how's that looking?
That's almost, I don't know. That's a hard question. I could probably put together 2 full teams. Greels, you're killing me here. I don't know. I think I could honestly say the only strong answer I can give is keep the like Marner, Kachuk, Dvorak line still. Yeah. But goalies, I honestly couldn't tell you. And my D partner, I've played with so many great players. It's hard to tell. Maybe Victor Mete, because I'm not the fastest guy, but.
Yeah, I was curious because I'm like, when I was thinking of it, I'm like, man, like I don't even know. Like I'm looking at these rosters and I'm like, I didn't even play with these guys and I don't know how to like separate them.
I wouldn't even know. I could probably put together 2 like all-star teams in any league.
Oh man. So now, more or less day to day, what's everything looking like? How you been? What you're going on a few walks, things like that. Like picking up cooking, you making bread? Like what's been your activity?
Yeah, I mean I try to cook as much as I can. It helps kind of pass time, and you're putting good food in your stomach and in your body. I'm taking 6 classes right now, so that's keeping me busy.
Okay.
As you said, walks. I'm working. I'm just trying to stay as busy as I can.
Are you like taking advantage of, I guess, the lighter workload from hockey, so that way you can kind of catch up on the coursework, or even be ahead with 6 courses?
Yeah, that's what I did in the fall semester. I took 6 once I knew everything was online, and I took 5 summer classes last summer. Mm-hmm. So like in one full year, I would have completed 17 classes, which kind of really helped me fast track my undergrad.
Hey man, that's not a bad strategy at all.
Especially online, I feel like it's more you do what you do when you can, and not having hockey giving me the extra time has allowed me to kind of get through those classes.
Have you thought much about who you're going to be after hockey's all said and done?
Yeah, that's actually like one of the podcasts I was listening to. Is as you're going through your career, you have to kind of plan out what your next step is, different situations, because if not, then it's going to be a shock and you won't be strong mentally. You're going to be depressed, you're going to be anxious, you're going to be, so I've played out a bunch of different scenarios, what ifs, and that's kind of, I'm prepared for, I think, anything that happens in the future.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely, a surprise is only a surprise if you know nothing about it, more or less, right? Or it takes you off man, dude, sometimes I say things and then I'm like, I try and keep going, but that one was just like, that did not hit at all.
Oh.
that does. Yeah, I gotta be honest. I've been probably accumulated about 8 hours of just chatting on podcasts this week, like whether it's more or less like interviewing like different guests, and I think I've found my wall of the exact minute of when I hit, and it's just straight BS coming out of my mouth.
Oh, you live and you learn.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's the thing, you gotta. Dude, you know what? Listen. Here's the part of the show where I hand it over to you, Basically, it's your show now. You can talk about whatever you want because obviously, I just don't know how to form words and sentences anymore. So it's it's all you, man. Life story, childhood lesson, whatever you want to chat about.
No, I mean, I think we've gone through a lot. It's definitely weird nowadays, chatting with different people, lectures, team Zooms and like podcasts is all over Zoom. So, I mean, I've never stared at my laptop as much.
Yeah.
But I do really appreciate you having me on. It was a great chat, and it was kind of good to relive those moments.
Yeah, man. No, I really do appreciate you coming on because it's cool, man. Like I wish there was a little bit more of a stint where you got traded to the 67s and I would have got to know you a little bit earlier there at that point, dude. Because man, I love chatting with you. Anytime I get to chat with you and bump into you at the rink, so I was missing that a lot.
Yeah, I miss just chatting with everyone, honestly. Like we always had good communication. We always had good chats around the rink, even if it'd be a couple minutes. Like I always enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah. Hey, man, I appreciate it. Take care, and hey, we'll stay in touch.
Absolutely.
All right, that's it for this week. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hey, please do me a favor, leave us a review. It really helps push these out to more and more people. Also, share it with a friend. Enjoy the rest of your Valentine's Day, guys. Stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, and in the meantime, stay best kind.